Alright guys, TouchCryBear back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday so far. Today we're going to talk about, once again, another crazy situation that's happened with Modern Warfare just before the World Championship weekend. It looks like a change has been made to Modern Warfare and what the professionals will be using this coming weekend, that being the MP5 this time around. Phenomenal stuff really from Infinity Ward once again. The discussion is not necessarily around how big of a change this is. Doesn't seem to be a massive deal, although, well, different people say different things on the matter, but it's just the idea that a few days before the World Championships, a game-changing update comes into effect, and well, the professional players and well, a lot of industry commentators, I suppose, discussing this one, and it doesn't really look great on Activision, right? And well, we can talk about exactly some of the reasons why this has happened, how it might affect the upcoming weekends. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you are new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, this came out from Jukesy yesterday saying MP5 got more recoil. Is it just me? This guy actually joined the London Royal Ravens relatively recently, in a topic that we didn't actually get to discover on the channel, or get to cover on the channel, but yeah, still a pretty interesting one, I thought. But anyway, he comes out with this. Then we get this from Scraps, of course. Have they done something to the MP5, or am I tweaking? Nolson then says, yeah, mate, they've defo done something to the iron sight. Feels like it's more zoomed in or something. Clay's like, yo, oh my god, like, this can't be true. And, Scraps then says, no gas, Clay, it is different. EasyMac then says, get on for scrims, and damn, not particularly happy with this one, right? And then we get this from Nick Scott right over at the Atlanta FaZe, pointing out this tweet that came out a while ago from Ashton Williams over at Infinity Ward, where this discussion was had on about the 10th of August, not too long ago now, saying we getting weapon tuning a few days before champs, wouldn't put it past you guys, says Caleb. And then Ashton Williams is like, this tunes weapons they do not use. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, right? The potential of a game-changing update just before champs. It looked like that didn't happen. Nothing changed before playoffs. However, it may be, right, Infinity Ward kind of forgot that champs was happening, or they thought that playoffs was champs or something like that, and this somehow slipped through the cracks, right? Because, as Ashton says, this tunes weapons that they do not use. I'm pretty sure I said at the time something to the effect of, we're not sure if Infinity Ward are going to stick to their word in a sense, and it seems to be what's happened here. I really don't understand how this even happens. It's literally 4 days or whatever before the World Championship kicks off. How does this even happen, or at least the grand finals of the champs with the final 4 teams, the championship weekends, the highlight of Call of Duty for the year, and all of a sudden we now have a change update in the game. Not necessarily like this is the biggest deal in the world. Some people say more recoil, some people just say the iron sights are different, or at least, what it looks like to actually look through the weapons, iron sights or whatever, looks different than it used to, but it's just the idea that this can even happen in theory is remarkable. Infinity Ward back at it again, baby. As Abizi says, nice, they changed the ADS with collapsible on the MP5 just 4 days before we play collapsible stock, one of the attachments the pros always use. This year has been one massive troll. Scrap says, I might be done after this year, I want to erupt. Mind blown. I truly just don't understand, Matty. Since deleted as well from Abizi, trying not to get fined. EasyMac then says, yesterday, today, is it that different? Looks like the gun is more in your face, but the sight kind of looks the same, but why change it now at all, like right now? Like, what is going on? But then Scrap says, bro, it's not only the look that has changed, it is now bouncing all over the gaff. And well, these are the images. I just want to put these up on screen. It doesn't really show in these ones how clearly it is, but there is a screenshot I'll look at in a second which kind of does show the difference. It kind of looks like it's more zoomed in maybe, but it doesn't look like an overwhelming difference between these one. There is a much better one though that comes out from Carnage J-God here, looking specific to the collapsible stock, which is what the pros use, which is why it didn't look different in previous stuff I posted earlier. This is the, I suppose, the rough tracing. This is the pre-patch one. You can see it's somewhat asymmetrical here, actually, when you're looking down it on the barrel, but, it's somewhat tightly confined. This is what it looks like now. So you can see the outline of where the old one used to be. This is what it now looks like. So I suppose it's more symmetrical, but there's now more of the, more of the weapon that's appearing, and I suppose less of it down here. Interesting, right? It doesn't seem like the most major change in the world. Then again, I mean, you've got to talk about this recoil stuff. I mean, Scraps are saying, like, the recoil's different. Jukesy was saying a similar thing. If that's changed, that's like a major deal, right? So, I don't know, but it's just another one of these things, right? We're literally 4 days out from champs. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It just blows the minds. Trey then says, I've just seen the tweets about the MP5 and I've just tested it. I cannot believe we had a gun patch before champs. I am in utter disbelief. Angry isn't the word, to be honest. And Simp says, let's get it, brother. Chaps, adapt, bro. You guys do this for a living. Why do you complain? It just blows my mind. It looks exactly like the close quarters stock on it. And, just unbelievable to see. And then, well, Scraps quotes Nick's tweet there and says, $3 million on the line this upcoming weekend. The MP5 has been messed with, the most important gun. They are, like, absolutely taking the mick. And, we've seen these articles come around from Infinity Ward developers saying that competitive has ruined the scene. And, all this kind of stuff. And it just once again, like, is another tick on the board of saying that, well, Infinity Ward are doing some stuff in the Modern Warfare title due to the competitive side. You've got potentially the champs being played in the stadium stuff. You've got the champs packs and all of this stuff coming into the game. But you could certainly argue that that's being driven by Activision, and when they actually get to decide what's going on in the game, like such as weapon updates and things like that, they don't really care for the competitive scene. That's certainly an argument you could make. And as Waskin says, yo, they even hit us with the winky phase, as we saw that tweet just a little bit ago. We then get this from Rod Breslau. He says, Infinity Ward made a gameplay change to Call of Duty MP5 4 days before COD Champs without saying anything. Pros noticed, of course, and had to ask about it first, and now all the CDL teams are being asked if they want to revert. This is something which happens quite often in previous Call of Duties, especially given this is a pretty regular occurrence. We'll get a situation where something gets changed, something gets patched, and well, the pros get asked, like, do you want to play these games on the old patch or do you want to play on the new patch kind of thing? So the pros supposedly being asked about this. Of course, there's only 4 teams remaining, that being the Atlanta FaZe and Dallas Empire in the winners finals, Chicago Huntsmen, London Royal Ravens, of course, in the losers finals. Those are the 4 teams that are remaining. So you would imagine that, well, those 4 teams get the opportunity to say, look, we just want to play on the previous patch, whatever. Infinity Ward have just done what they've done. Let's just play on the previous version and let's just go from there. Infinity Ward must be jealous of Epic's work with Pro Fortnite. If you guys follow the Pro Fortnite community at all, which I don't, but there's certainly discussions there around developer support. And well, similar stuff, of course, this season in the Call of Duty League. GG's onto Treyarch and Cold War. But then we get this from Scump. This is where it really got surprising to me, right? Because you could say, okay, whatever, Infinity Ward, like, they've just done what they've done, as we said, and let's just move on and use the old patch. However, Scump then says, so the MP5 isn't getting reverted for playoffs. Now, you know, whether he's talking here about the patch getting reverted, but I mean, realistically, the patch is never going to get reverted. I think what he's kind of implying here is that they're not going to be playing the championship weekend, or as he describes it here as playoffs. That's why the naming to me is kind of confusing, that you've got playoffs, which we already had. Now you've got the championship weekends, which is effectively, I suppose, playoffs for the playoffs. Bit confusing. But I think what Scump is trying to say here really is that they are actually not going to be playing on the old patch next weekends. RC says this, I love the changes. I'm glad we have to adapt. I love COD. And I think he did another tweet to the effect of saying that, like, I'm probably going to get fined for this one. But still absolutely remarkable. If this doesn't happen, I don't know why it wouldn't happen, right? Because if the teams are getting decided, well, if the teams get the choice to choose whether they want to play on the new patch with the new MP5 changes or the old patch, I'm sure all the players would want to play on the old patch, right? We can see that Scump says here, well, clearly implying that he wants to play on the old patch as it was. So did Scraps and the London team. Clearly Abizi thinks the same thing over at the FaZe clan. The only players that we don't really have any indication from here is the Dallas Empire. But even if the Dallas Empire do want to play on the new patch, for whatever reason, they would get outvoted 3-1. So confusing to me why this wouldn't happen if it's a possibility. Not exactly sure what's going on here. But yeah, certainly doesn't look great. And well, intrigued to hear your thoughts down below once again. Again, you just can't make this stuff up. And you know, just to say really quickly on the league before we finish here, I thought this was a pretty interesting discussion on a slightly different vein from Ardo over at ESPN. On a conference call, COD League Commissioner Joanna Ferries said there is no final decision yet on whether or not Champs games, so the championship weekends, not the playoffs, of course the playoffs, the final 3 days, were played on a delay. They have been assessing it, collaborating with teams, having an active dialogue, but not too much to share with detail at this time. Seems interesting, right? Because if you now go back to not having a delay, honestly the delay wasn't too bad. Like, you know, we had the situation where pros had to not tweet and stuff, which might be pretty difficult after you win the World Championships, but, you know, the pros managed to do a relatively good job the last few days of not spoiling matches or anything. So, you know, we could probably go with that to the World Championship weekends. Of course, if you then revert that, then all of a sudden you've got DDoSing issues immediately become a factor once again, potentially. And that, well, that's certainly not something you want to happen when all the eyes of the esports world are, hopefully at least, on the Call of Duty World League Championships. And well, it then goes on. Regarding connectivity issues early in playoffs, she said that they took certain measures to combat major problems. Things continued to smooth out certainly through these past weekends. And well, matches progressed without similar interruptions, of course, and there's more to come about whether or not you can watch Champs in Warzone, and they're looking at some creative, well, solutions to this. Then this is, I suppose, one of the interesting ones. Are there plans to expand beyond 12 teams next season? We continue to see great demand for the CDL, and it's coming in from a lot of different places. That's all good news. The focus is on 12 franchises, but we are oversubscribed on demand with the initial 12 ambitious about growth. So that doesn't say anything about whether it's going up next season. Of course, we have no announcements as of that yet. I mean, there's the 4v4 thing coming into play, potentially. I mean, by no means confirmed or anything, but if it does go 4v4, we've talked about that realistically, you have to make it 16 teams, to be honest. And, you know, well, if that's the case, then who knows what happens, right? But certainly ambitious about growth. Sounds pretty good, like potentially even 20 teams at some point in the future, but maybe not quite yet. The CoD bubble for playoffs, another pretty interesting one. I've seen it too. We've asked thoughts partners about every situation, not blind to what other sports have done. Know the complexity of that. We left no stone unturned. When we make these decisions, there is a ton of diligence with the stakeholders. Of course, they're going to be saying that, but, you know, still, few interesting discussions here. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below and all this stuff. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, and I will see you next time.